Welcome to this class. We're going to discuss the research methods and analytical strategies. Basically, this class entails the discussion of the research methods that have been applied in order to identify the effect of nutrition on behavior, because the entire unit is all about nutrition and behavior. So the current theories that exist have been developed through different researches. So we're going to discuss the approaches or the research approaches that have been used to be able to gather these facts or the theory that exists in the field of nutrition and behavior. So I'm going to start discussing the correlational studies. So basically, two main strategies have been used to be able to postulate the effect of nutrition on behavior. One of them is the correlational approach, and the other one is the experimental approach. So we shall start by discussing the correlational studies or the correlational approach. So correlational studies are used to generate the hypothesis about nutrition behavior relationship. Even as the name suggests, it tests the relationship between variables. The primary objective is to define a link between dietary intake and behavior, with a specific expectation that statistical association will be derived between the two variables that are tested. For instance, we can have a research or a study to identify the effect of high sugar diet on individuals' behavior. So we have two variables. One of them is a high sugar diet. The other variable is behavior. So it can be a specific behavior. Maybe it can be maybe a high sugar diet leads to hyperactivity behavior, or it leads to dizziness, or it leads to laziness. Those are the specific behavior. So we can narrow down to a specific behavior. So that means a high sugar diet will be the independent variable in this case, and then the hyperactivity behavior or any other behavior that will be on the test will be the dependent variable. So we shall be such research or such study will be assessing the effect of high sugar diet on behavior, and that is called correlational study. We also have experimental study, and in experimental study we have to subject some variables to a test. So in contrast to correlational study, experimental studies have the potential of identifying the causal link between diet and behavior. It can be able to tell you the link between a diet and behavior. If the manipulation of specific dietary components, that is the independent variable, for instance high sugar diet, significantly alter the occurrence of a behavior, that's the dependent variable, a causal relationship can be postulated. Both correlational and experimental studies have been used to assess the behavioral consequences of a large number of dietary components. Vitamins, minerals, heavy metals, food additives, sugars, and artificial sweeteners have all been studied, and in an effort to square superstition with current scientific knowledge and shed light on the real but often misunderstood relationship between what we eat and how we behave. So to be able to carry on such studies, you need to have a deep knowledge on the variables. So what are variables? The purpose of research is to describe and explain variance in the world. Variance is the same as the differences. There are some differences in the world. That's the variance. So variance simply means the differences, that is variation that occur naturally in the world, or a change that we create as a result of manipulation. Therefore, a variable are names that are given to the variance we wish to explain. A variance or a variable is either a result of some force or is itself the force that causes a change in another variable. In experiments, these are called dependent and independent variable respectively. I believe I will explain more about those two variables. I can take you through an example. I have two examples. So in example 1, in an experimental study looking at classical music exposure and reading ability in children. So in this study, it was investigating the effect of music or the classical music on the reading ability of children. The researcher divided the children into two groups, that is group A and group B. In group A, the children listened to Mozart for 1 hour a day for 1 month. That is that music. They listen to a music 1 hour a day for a period of 1 month. The group B, parents were instructed to refrain from playing classical music around the child for 1 month. So these ones were the control experiment. They were not to listen to the music for a period of 1 month. At the end of the month, all children were given a reading comprehension test. Those who listened to Mozart daily, that's the group A, scored significantly higher on the reading test. In this case, the reading comprehension test score is the dependent variable. That's the performance. So the performance in this case depends on the music. So the music becomes the independent variable, and the score or the performance becomes the dependent variable. This is because the test score is dependent on whether or not the child listened to Mozart music. The independent variable, exposure to Mozart music, is independent because it is something that can be manipulated or changed by the researcher. So I believe by this example 1, we are able to distinguish between the independent variable and the dependent variable. Let's look at the example 2. In a study with a similar design, that is experimental, as the previous example, researchers looked at the effect of nutrition on reading ability. In group A, children ate at least 3 ounces of dark green vegetables every day for 1 month. In group B, children were fed their regular diet. At the end of the month, children took a reading comprehension test. Those who ate the green vegetables every day for 1 month, that is the group A, did not vary in the test score when compared to group B. That means there is no relationship between the eating green vegetables and the comprehension test. That's a good example that shows the variables. So in this case, the same. The green vegetable is the independent variable, and the test score for the comprehension is the dependent variable.